So welcome to this LinkedIn business pages, LinkedIn company pages, depending on where you are in the world. Slight changes and differences in the way that these are described. This is a Cambridge Marketing College webinar, and we are going to be looking at the whole topic of getting the best and getting the most from your LinkedIn business page. Hopefully you do have a LinkedIn business page. If you don't, they're very, very simple and easy to create, and I'll explain a little bit more about that as we go through this particular session. So the idea behind this is that we have been talking recently and at quite some length about how to get the most from your personal profile within LinkedIn. And of course, personal profiles in LinkedIn are something you have at your control, and it's all about your own personal portfolio. And this is the business version of that. This is the business end of using LinkedIn. And there are some subtle differences, but there are also some things that you can do to really propel the reach and the success of your business within this really key social network right now. So the value of a LinkedIn company page or business page really can't be understated. I mean, LinkedIn by far and away is the world's biggest and most active, and that's a key thing, most active professional business networking platform. There are some 13 million companies currently registered to have a company or business page, or what LinkedIn used to call a showcase page. And again, I'll mention those a little bit later. And those are attracting the potential attention of more than 500 million users or customers or visitors or followers. So it's a huge marketplace really for your organization. And as such, really, this helps to sit alongside and in parallel to your business website or your company website. And for me, the way that these two things work hand in hand is really crucial to the way that you start to sort of think about the reasons behind why you might actually want a LinkedIn business page. And we'll explore that as we go through this. This quote from Hootsuite, which is that a company page represents a huge opportunity to establish your brand as an industry thought leader and attract top talent. I would also say, building on what Hootsuite describes this as, I would say it also allows you to use it as a signposting tool to some of the stuff that you're up to. So product launches, to campaigns, to new projects, to maybe a company move of location. Maybe there's some people introductions that you want to be doing and giving. So maybe you want to showcase some of the people in your business. This is a hugely interesting concept right now. We wouldn't be having this conversation in the same kind of way if we were listening or discussing this maybe even 2 years ago. LinkedIn has really accelerated and kicked on from its original position over the last couple of years. And as we discussed and saw in the use of personal profiles in LinkedIn, it is really accelerating away. If you are thinking that you're doing digital activity within social media particularly, and you're not actively using a LinkedIn company page, then you're really missing a trick. To just be relying on the consumer-focused social networks really is missing an opportunity. So that's really what we're going to be here to be talking about and covering as we go through this session here this afternoon. So you do get what you give within LinkedIn. If you want to build a community of followers, you have to really care about adding value to their experience and adding value to the community in which they already reside before you can expect them to care about you. So Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, says this constantly and consistently. It's all about you getting what you give by the effort that you're willing to put in. So by just a little bit like your own personal profile in LinkedIn, by just creating a page and thinking, hey, my job is done, I've got a page created, that is only the start of the engagement, the start of the journey. You have to be devoting time and energy, but you do get back what you give in return. So therefore, if you are willing to devote a little bit of time to research, look into this, set something up, you will get a return. The community is already there. It's already active. It's already engaging. So the question is, as a business, as a company, as an organization, do you want to be in that conversation? Because this is a tool that will actually get you there, but you have to want to commit to this. This is not as simple as creating a company page and then saying your job is done. So there is a time and an energy and a resource commitment, even before you start to think about the content you're going to put into this. You have to care about adding value. So that is something that we will talk a little bit about as we go through this, because it is something that is, super important really to getting some value from doing this activity. So let's get into this then. So how do you start to get some traction? How do you start to get some engagement using a LinkedIn company page? Well, the very first thing you do is you clearly have to set up a page. So let's make the assumption you don't already have one. If you do, then you just need to have admin access, and you need to be an admin for your page, and whoever created the page can give you that admin access using the same login that you have as a personal user of LinkedIn. So you can use that same email address. They can invite you to be an admin, and then you're in, and you can see the stats. You can post, you can change the information, the overview, the cover image, and all of that kind of stuff. But let's assume that you don't yet have a company page. So your idea is to be creating one so you can explore and see whether this is going to work for you. So what you need to do is you need to go to your normal LinkedIn profile, and towards the top right-hand corner in the menu bar at the top of the page, you'll see a little grid. And that little grid is made up of 9 little squares. And then if you click on that, it will say create company page. And then you literally just follow the instructions that LinkedIn give to you. So you've created a page, you've started to put in your logo, for example. This will start to begin to bring the page to life. You can, of course, if you don't have one, you could actually create one at something like canva.com. But for most of us, we're not working in an organization or within a business or in a startup that hasn't actually gone down some route of creating some kind of identity. So let's assume you have a logo. You then need to think about your cover image. Now, normally, if you are something that has a geographic or physical presence, you might want to use your offices or your venue or your site as the cover image. So a little bit of background there and context for whoever visits. If you're a service industry, you might want to show a little bit of the service. So for example, if you're a training company, you might want to show one of your team in situ, sort of in a training session with other people in there. And it's interesting when you do talk about cover images, if you've used a logo as the kind of the thumbnail, if you like, of your company page, it's always a good idea. The research does show that by putting people into your company cover image, you tend to get a little bit more engagement, a little bit more of a hook, a little bit more traction. So think about what person or people or scenarios that include your people could you include as your cover image? And of course, that's the lead image. You need to make sure as well that it's actually optimized for both mobile access as well as desktop access. So play with the screen sizes. Always look at your LinkedIn profile from both desktop perspective and also mobile, as you would with your website, with other social networks. No difference there, really. Now, LinkedIn are very, very clear that if you complete all of the information that they guide you to as you're setting up your account, and if you've already got an account and you go into the back end of that and you have a look at it, you'll see very quickly the things that they encourage you, because there's an automated algorithm that will encourage you to complete the things you haven't completed. They will claim that you will get 30% more weekly views to your page if you complete all of the sections. So for very little extra effort, it's worth just doing that to at least be on the radar of the potential audiences that you're going to be attracting. Now, it is very, very important as you go through this to be thinking about your organization information and the overview. Okay, so these are things that are very LinkedIn search engine friendly. So make sure that when you're adding this content in, you're both thinking of the people searching as well as existing customers or existing connections that you have. Because of course, if you've got a new page, you might want to use everyone in your business or your organization to say, hey, come and visit our page and follow us, because we're going to be updating this quite regularly with useful stuff that adds value to your LinkedIn experience. So come and check in and follow us as a page. Now, of course, what you want to do is attract everybody who's connected with you right now, as well as being attractive and found by people searching for companies and businesses or products like you offer. So make sure you think about the keywords, because other LinkedIn members will search for organizations using keywords and hashtags. And of course, you want to be found. So bear in mind your target persona and think about how you can describe yourself and your business using the kinds of phrases that people would be potentially searching for. You can also do other stuff like adding multiple locations. If you're not just based in one location, you have a number of different venues, add multiple locations in. And of course, decide your company website address. If you want to direct people on a specific journey from this company page, make sure you use that direct URL. Don't just think, oh yes, I'm just going to send everybody to the home page if they click on a link. Think, is that appropriate? Where do you want people to go in the customer journey point that they will have reached by visiting your company page? That's really, really important. And also, building on that point, is if you want to add in a call to action button, you can actually customize that, and you can customize it in terms of where you want people to go to. So yes, they might see the website domain name and then think, okay, I'm going to go there, click the URL, and they come through. But they also might respond to your call to action button. And that could be buy products here, that could be visit us here, that could be inquire here. So think about where this company page is in the target audience's journey with you. So where are you positioning your company page in the journey? So it's not just there for its own sake, it's there to perform a particular reason. Okay. Now, LinkedIn will give you, as you go through this and you create this page or you update this page, they will continually fuel you with guidance. Okay, so they will suggest to you a number of things, and these are the top 3 things that they're suggesting right now, is that you should fill in quite a detailed overview of your organizations. And again, you'll see when you go in to do this where this is completed. But think about the future, the vision. Think about kind of the things that you want to be part of in terms of discussions, where you want to position strategically your business. Think about actually how you're going to help and the kind of the more practical things that you do to serve and give value, that value that Gary Vee was talking about. State as well is if you've got some real kind of high level strategic things on your website, there is no harm in putting these in again here. So think about what kind of core values that are supporting your vision and some of the decision-making processes that you do. Be as authentic and as transparent as you can afford to be. If you have brand guidelines, this might already be set for you, but if not, be a little bit creative. Think about the relationship building. Don't just think about this as being a big billboard digitally, and this is where you're just going to post promotion after promotion. Think about enticing people in with intrigue, with interest, and maybe some of the stuff that sits around the periphery of what you provide to help build that relationship. And of course, as I've said, if you have multiple locations, maybe you've got a very, very specific sort of definition of your industry and what you do and what you offer, make sure that you are very, very specific. Specific approaches within search engine optimization, we're not really here to talk about that, but generally as a principle, the more specific you can be with what are called long tail phrases, so the descriptions of who, what, and why you are, will decrease the overall overall numbers of visits, but they'll increase the value and the quality of those visits. So be super careful the way that you describe what you describe and how you describe it, because you can really attract some very targeted people who genuinely are looking to get value from the kinds of products and services that you provide. So it's a really exciting opportunity here, but fill out the detail, do a deeper dive than people who just add in a few posts and a logo. Go in and complete all of those things, much as we described doing this for your own personal profile. Make sure you commit some time. And making sure as well that you start to build a little bit of a content plan, a little bit of a content strategy. Now, I would always say here, probably less is more. Now, they are going to say on the next slide, the amount of time and the amount of commitment that would be optimum for you to be posting within your LinkedIn company page. But I'd say maybe hold back a little bit on that. Don't go in all guns blazing, just trying to do volume after volume after volume, because you'll generally then be either compromising and maybe using everybody else's content and missing out on getting to really build relationships. But you could also find yourself going in too heavily on the promote. So as always, and I would always advocate this, the rule of thirds. So in your company profile, the way that you post content to it, 1/3 is personal. So 1/3 is content to help the audience, particularly those first-time visitors coming to your page who you want to connect and to click on to your website potentially from here, is that 1/3 of the content they should see that you've posted should be personal. So getting to know you, so they get a real feel for who you are as an organization. 1/3 pointing, so signposting to interesting other stuff. So articles, videos, content, editorial, features, discussions, maybe in LinkedIn, but maybe beyond as well, that help to provide a real kind of context that positions you as potentially a bit of a thought leader, a bit of an expert, a bit of a specialist, a bit of a guru style of organization in your field. Because that is the biggest way to build credibility and confidence in somebody else's mind, is if they think you're a bit of a specialist, a bit of a thought leader. So the point helps you to position the kinds of things that you do in terms of the rest of the industry who are also talking about that. So it puts you into a context. So don't think of LinkedIn company pages as something that sit in isolation. They're very much part of a bigger ecosystem, if you like, in the social networking world. And then 1/3 of what they should see in content that you publish in your company page is promotional. So you're allowed to do that. People know you want to do that and you're going to, as long as you've done those previous 2/3. And making sure that you include some really good quality imagery in there. Imagery in line with your company sort of content updates will get twice the higher level of comment rate than if you just post with text alone. We know that's true in other social networks. It's also true not only in your personal profile, but also in your company updates. So bear that in mind. So as you go through deciding what information and assets you have available, make sure you're consistently and constantly adding in any opportunity to bring in good quality imagery. So as you go around your various parts of the organization, be taking photos. If you've got some new products coming out, be taking imagery. Capture as much as you can, not just of the end result, but of the making process, of the journey behind the story, the specialisms, the services, the stuff that kind of goes on behind the scenes. The more of that stuff you can capture as well, particularly if you're forming collage images, 3 to 4 images in one post. These can perform specifically well, and especially well on company pages, probably even more so than on a personal page. So be almost obsessed with capturing imagery as you go around your day-to-day, everyday life as a marketer and as a business professional, because this is stuff that people genuinely do want to see, and you'll get higher levels of comment, higher levels of engagement if you do that. And of course, if you can share and be collecting video, you're likely to get 5 times more engagement. So imagery produces twice the engagement according to LinkedIn. Video will 5x the amount of engagement you'll get. So there's no harm in just collecting and sharing everything and anything that you feel is relevant and adding value. Now, beyond that, there are some generally researched results that the average organization in the average industry should expect to see. That if you can be posting content once a day, you can be positioning your organization as a trusted voice within your community. If you publish once a week, you can actually cross-promote your page to other social platforms and then maybe reaching different audiences. Now, this is where I would start to say, once a week, you should be asking people in your organization to be posting stuff from their own personal accounts that you've actually posted in your company page. So in other words, sharing the company information far and wide. Because if you can imagine, if you could get 10 people sharing a company post, or even 5 people sharing a company post, imagine the multiplier and the scale of engagement and reach you're going to get from that. So don't think of your company page as something that operates in isolation. This is something that's part of your social networking. Okay, in isolation, it's a company page. But if you factor in how your people, including you, can be using your personal profile to showcase and point to and share company information that's posted on your company page, you can start to gain some really good traction and start to really spread the word far and wide. And then when you start to see some real value coming through, and again, this is all about rule of thirds again, I'm not saying you should go against any sort of rule of thirds. This is much more about the frequency, aim, and your kind of commitment to the resources available. And I would say then, if you're doing that once a week, potentially with you and your team, maybe sharing some of the stuff on your company page, maybe once a month you start to get pretty proactive with the kinds of things you do with your company page, maybe using some hashtags, and think about going into some of the communities in where your existing customers and new followers are active. And again, you can do the research here, that search bar up in the menu field in LinkedIn is the place you go to start this off. Start searching some hashtags, particular tags that you know will engage with your audience, and see who's talking, because just by definition, the people you're connected with, companies who will be relevant to you, will show up in your search results if you do a search in LinkedIn. And those will be very different to mine. So LinkedIn is super clever. The big data that exists within LinkedIn and the algorithms now within LinkedIn search are very, very powerful. So make the most of those. Not every day, not every week, but maybe once a month. Just go in and do a little bit of background research. And that will help you to fine tune the content that you're putting out on your company page. And then once a week, you as a team, you as a group, maybe hopefully everybody in your business or your organization could potentially just be sharing a particular piece, especially if you're doing a product launch, or especially if you've got a big major announcement or a big event coming up. Everybody in their personal pages should be sharing that information. If they're not, maybe get this brought into the next monthly meeting. And if they don't even do it then, maybe you could argue this is something that goes into their contract of employment. We are all marketers, everybody in your organization, no matter what their role as a marketer. So they should be doing this to support the growth of your organization. It's not complicated. This is very simple stuff that can have a profound impact on your business. So what kind of examples, what kind of organizations are doing this, exactly this kind of stuff, and kind of how are they doing it? Well, let's look at Cambridge Marketing College, for example. So Cambridge Marketing College has over 15,000 followers. Does it have 15,000 people studying right here, right now? No, it doesn't. But it has 15,000 people who are getting value from this company page. So there are updates going out on there, how to improve your career, upcoming webinars, events, salary guidance, advice and guidance, personal and professional development, tips and skills, opportunities. So keeping close to a page like this in LinkedIn, when you just happen to be checking your own LinkedIn profile, what a great piece of information and value. That's the kind of value Gary Vee's talking about. And it isn't just that, because one of the big ways that this has been driven over recent months and years is the impact that the team within and some of the tutors have on this particular success of the page, because they will be publishing articles and giving a shout out to this profile page, to this company page. So when they do an article, when they do a webinar, when they are sharing something, they will actually do at Cambridge Marketing College. And so this will get a shout out. So it's very, very similar. It is not new ways of social interaction and social networking. It's using all of the existing skills and things that you probably have from doing your own private and personal social networking. You can do that here using the company page. So don't forget, what you already know is available to you to be able to shout and really get some great value. But it does imply that you do need support of others to really push on and get some great value out of it for you as an organization. So telling the rest of the organization that you've updated the page, that there's new content in there, and asking them to share it on an ongoing basis and keep checking back. And of course, making sure they've actually followed the page, because if they haven't followed the page, well, they're not going to be seeing some of this stuff. So you want this to become sort of semi-automated, but definitely a really good habit going forward, because the support of the others around you, as we're all marketing our organizations, no matter what role we do, this is really crucial to the great success that we want to see. And so those are the things that you can do. Those are the things to kind of set up and start some momentum rolling. So as an admin of the page, how do you know what is working? How do you know what you can be doing more of? How do you know what's going to be important for the next step? Well, the good thing is, yes, if you do have an aggregator, if you do have things like Hootsuite or Social Report or Sprout Social or any of the other kind of aggregators, you probably will already see the social insights coming through on there. But if you don't, then LinkedIn for free has a company page analytics, and you'll see that as soon as you become admin of your page, or if you've created it yourself, you'll see there's a little tab at the top of your page when you're logged in, and it says analytics. You click on that, and there's a whole host of things that can help you then to fine tune the kinds of content, to make sure that you know which pieces of content are performing best, to making sure that over time you're seeing a trend to the people you want to be attracting. The overall visitor metrics is a really interesting one. They've broken it down now, and this is a relatively recent thing. You can see the split between desktop and mobile access to your page. And so this would just give you a nice little general overview, and then you can compare the data across a trend between previous period and this period, this week versus last week, this month versus last month. And so you start to see a bit of a pattern developing. And of course, if you see on a particular day, week or month, you see a big spike or a big dip, why? It's not about seeing those numbers and saying, hey, I report back 200 new connections and followers this last month, and you think you've done a good job. Your business wants to know, yeah, fine, but why? Why was that 200? 200. Could that 200 have been 1,000? Could that 200 most likely been 10, but suddenly you did something and it became 200? You've got to know the reason why behind the numbers. So it's about, as I always say, turning the information into intelligence. So ask those questions of the data. Look back and see what you posted. You can see every single piece of content that you've published. It will tell you how many views, how many impressions that had. And of course, if you see a particular spike of one that it had 10 times the impressions, well, why? Was it that everybody shared it? Was it that everybody in the business shared it? Was it that it just had a really great level of conversation going on? And what did you learn from that? Was it the content? Was it the image? Was it the title? Was it the fact you posted it on Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. versus Monday at 9, because that's just generally when you post? You can delve deeply into this data and these numbers, and then start to replicate what works and strip out or do differently what doesn't. It's really important. And for me, the really important one is all about visitor demographics. I want to see on my pages a trend towards a target audience that I'm looking to attract. And it's great because you can see instantly, once you start getting some connections, what are their job functions? And again, all of this stuff is for free. So there's no reason not to look at this. So are you attracting the right people? if you're targeting, business professionals, sales and marketing people, are those the people who you're seeing as visitors to your company page? And if not, start to think about the content, the overview, the biography, the information around and within your page to begin to talk the language of that target environment and that target community and that target audience. Because if I was looking to attract sales and marketing people, but I saw that the visitor demographics was predominantly IT or engineering, I would know that I'm missing a trick, that I'm actually attracting an audience who really are not that relevant to what I'm saying. So then there would be work to be done. But if I see that I'm attracting an audience and I can see the percentage, I want to then see growth over and above that each month. So I'd want to see those numbers increasing. So it's not about, yes, I've attracted the right people. I want to then see growth within that demographic month on month, year on year. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with the numbers, and all of that is just accessible simply and easily behind that analytics tab. So get in, if you've already got a page, get in and have a look and see what's going on now. See what happened the last few posts that went on there. And of course, if you see some trends, that's what you're after, not snapshots in time, because that doesn't really tell you very much, but see trends, and then you can start to really, really own and learn from that. And then you'll know exactly where you're going with this. So I would always say, now you know that these things are available to you, I'd say start today, or you won't start at all. And I see a lot of this, people saying, oh yeah, that's really, really interesting, but I'm a bit busy right now, so I'm going to put that off. And then you come back and you say, a month's time, so did you make a start? No, it's still on my list of things to do because I'm super busy. I would say that if you're looking to grow your business, if you're looking to get a community together, if you're looking to see more connections and engagements with a business community, that is others in business, either because you want to recruit them, or because you want them to buy your products and services, or because you just want to see more of an alignment with your business within a community. And particularly if you're looking to establish some kind of thought leadership or some kind of really strong identification of your brand with a particular message or a topic, then this is the social network for you. I think as marketers, if we think it's all about Facebook because that's the biggest, or it's all about TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram because they're the noisiest right now, then we're really missing a trick, because the real high quality interaction at the moment in, as Gary Vee would say, underpriced attention. That is one of the phrases that he's very, very renowned to be saying. And this is what it is. It's underpriced attention. You're going to get a lot of value from not doing too much. And the reason that he would say it's underpriced is because not everybody is yet doing this, because they haven't started today. So if this has struck a chord with you, if you think, I at least need to get in there and see what's going on, or I could just spend a couple of hours this afternoon, or maybe this evening even, just setting something up and then maybe posting a bit of content and watching what happens, then I would say that could be one of the best decisions you're going to make this week. Because if you haven't done it yet, or if you've done it and you've seen very, very small gains, this is where it's happening. And there's so much research. LinkedIn, if you just look at LinkedIn, do a LinkedIn search for tutorials, the first thing they'll present to you is the data and the research of companies, probably and arguably just like yours, who are making great gains. So there is a huge value in doing this. And I would say if you're not doing it right now, now is the time to start. So this is a topic that is not going to go away, and I'm going to be sharing a lot more about LinkedIn, both personal and professional, on upcoming webinars. And you'll find this actually on the Neil Wilkins podcast. If you don't subscribe to that, do, because a lot of the topics that I'm talking about through here in this particular webinar, I'm going to be covering, if I haven't already, within upcoming webinars and podcast episodes. The big one that's coming this coming Friday is all about thought leadership. So I'm doing a webinar this coming Friday on thought leadership, and you can register for that at marketingcollege.com/events, and you'll be able to register for that one. And thought leadership is that topic. I've mentioned it 3 or 4 times in this particular webinar. It's that topic of positioning you and or your business against a particular subject so that you can build your brand, either your personal brand or your business brand appropriately. Thought leadership is so, so powerful. So cutting out all of the noise and actually getting to the heart of actually what's your brand really about? And can you really make a big story out of this? The answer is yes. And so that's one of the topics that really will help you to start feeding your company profile, as well as your personal profile, if you want to do this for your own personal gains within LinkedIn. So if you haven't already, subscribe to my podcast. That's the Neil Wilkins podcast. You can find that all over social. Just search for Neil Wilkins podcast and you'll find it. But also the Cambridge Marketing Podcast. We're releasing a lot of content just like this there as well. So if you haven't already, subscribe to that. And if you have any other questions or any other things that you want to ask at all, as you go through taking those first dipping of your toes into the water on this, is you'll find an opportunity to DM me directly, so that you can find me on social at Neil Wilkins X. So direct message me directly in social if you have any questions around this topic of company profiles. And hopefully I'll be able to answer the question or point you in the right direction. As I say, there's a lot of tutorials that are available if you're still a little bit nervous about doing this, but don't be. It's a very, very simple process. And of course, the beauty with this is if you start today and you make a bit of a mess of it, it's all in the click of the button. You can undo everything that you've ever done very, very quickly. So have confidence, go and build it, go and see what happens, and let's see some great growth trends for your business. Thanks again very much for attending this webinar. I hope you found that useful, and I look forward to connecting with you again on a webinar very, very soon.